wherever you are right now, whether you're watching this live or on the replay, silent majority, everyone in CTM, everyone everywhere, big shout out. Let's get going here today. I want to start off on this chart of Luna. Luna is obviously fresh in everyone's minds right now. And I want to talk about how using CTM 2.0, what that would have looked like. And first of all, let's start off actually with CTM 1.0 with lines of repair and why this is a tremendous way to trade out of any correction. Now, stop loss, by the way, every time you have the entry is on a trend line break. The stop loss is the lowest price of the move. The trend line in each instance is going to be down at the lowest end of the price. And obviously you would have took this stop. Let's imagine you were taking, 2% stop loss for each trade you take. And the only reason I say 2% is because just in this series here, it's going to take 5 attempts or a 10% drawdown until you're able to get on the right side of the trade. And you could see the second one stopped out as well. And the third one stopped out as well. But the risk to reward on each of these is tremendous. I mean, this is Luna at 47 cents. It obviously goes parabolic multiple times. Now keep going forward, right? Stay with me. This is another 2% loss right over there. And then once that's stopped out, you have to redraw the trend line. And that's over here off the highest point when stopped out. Entry over here. And that's the one that obviously got you into the position. But what CTM 2.0 does is it just gets in afterwards. Similar thing to what's going on in Bitcoin right now as CTM 2.0 is everyone on the sidelines. That's on the buy side since the beginning of April. And they're just waiting, not knowing whether the market has bottomed or not, or is going to put in another leg down, and how big that leg would be down or how small or anything like that. It's just waiting for a buy signal. But here's what this looked like on Luna. I'm just going to go ahead and start moving forward into the future. And if you were, I guess, if you remember what was going on in 2020, late 2020, I don't know how many people's radar Luna was on, but this is just an example because I want to talk about the fall, the collapse of Luna, and what CTM 2.0, how it would have reacted, and the whole time in between from here until there as well. All right. So I don't know if you were looking at a launch of a new altcoin and then seeing it trade off drastically, how much interest you would have had or how many people bought Luna down over here, but you didn't need to buy it down over here. Nevertheless, let's keep going over here. As I'm saying, that's quite a move before this thing even starts flying. And then CTM 2.0 just keeping you on the right side of that. I know that I would have exited many times. As far as the settings that we're using right over here, and this is just for fun, right? This is the same settings that we use on stocks. And obviously that during these type of periods, deploying CTM 2.0 with our preferred settings, the return is much greater. But I'm just trying to give an example. So anyway, staying on the right side over here and then finally exiting at $16.50. And it looked like a really good exit because Luna came off for quite a while until breaking out again. And then finally, from 30, the big run up, CTM getting in and out over here. And let me get to the punchline over here where it collapses. First of all, if you were buy side only, long side only, you would obviously have been out of the market before the collapse of Luna, right? What happens if you were playing both sides though? This is looking at Luna since inception, 16,000. This is buy and sell side together, 16,000% return, right? Let's look at the buy side only. We focus a lot on the buy side, and we also look at what it looks to execute on the short side, because even though it's much easier to make profit, I was watching Bill Miller speak yesterday on the Investors Podcast. Bill Miller is one of my heroes, one of the legends of Wall Street that really helped form my beliefs early on in my career. He was talking about how, look, his whole philosophy on the markets is the markets are not crashing. 75% of the time, they're trending upwards. Interesting take on that. Anyway, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. I want to finish and get started here, not just with Luna. I want to look at some other altcoins, including Solana, BNB. I want to look at FTX or FTT. And then I also want to get into the Kaman filter today and just give a little bit of explanation of what's going on over there. as I have changed the way I am executing. Nevertheless, let's continue over here. Buy side only. The advantage of them, either you know them or you don't. And you add in the short side, right? Short side alone, by the way, up until now, where it's holding a position that's 99.97% in profit. It's holding, 100% profit over here. It was the results on the short side only were minus 32%. So this is really important. Actually, the whole purpose of this is to kind of talk about what might be like the ultimate hedge for people. So follow me. Let me continue presenting, and then let me tie back and hopefully tie back. Thank you, Gemma, for smashing the like button here this morning as we get going. I really appreciate that very much. It always just brings a smile to my face and lets me know that I am in the flow. So adding them both together, you could see that it actually does take away from a lot of the long side only profit. If you were to be trading Luna just on the buy side only, it's more profitable to trade it on the buy side only. But if you add in the downside as well, you could be holding a position right now that when it collapsed was 100%. Do you think that Bitcoin has the possibility that it might collapse, or something like Ethereum? And if you thought that Ethereum had the possibility that something like that could collapse, you might want to make sure that you were also executing on the downside. But let's keep going over here. Those are quite tremendous results on Luna, no question about that. And most importantly, making sure you were out before the collapse. If you were executing on the downside, on the short side, you have to know that it's hard to make money on the downside. I know that we could do it. I know that we have shown what our the way that we execute on that. Nevertheless, just reinforcing that point. If you are trading alts, right now, you all know that I work on and I'm executing on Bitcoin. I've presented yesterday while it's the same thing trading Bitcoin lightly leveraged. And when I say lightly leveraged, like we again, it begins proving that spot and spot alone on the buy side only is all that you need to completely conquer the markets. Spot Bitcoin, no leverage, Bitcoin buy side only. No question about that. The thing is, if you add in also the sell side, maybe you don't want to sell Bitcoin, maybe you want to execute on Ethereum. What's interesting about Ethereum is that it is the equivalent, so far these things change, but over the last 5 years, it is basically Bitcoin lightly leveraged, the results. And when I say lightly leveraged on Bitcoin, I'm talking about like Bitcoin at 1.5x leverage. I mean, really lightly leveraged. And Ethereum, you can't even use leveraged. It's so volatile, right? So anyway, I don't know why I digress, because I'm talking about altcoins. So I just want to preface that Bitcoin, and the most important trade that matters, is obviously of most importance to me. Nevertheless, there's a lot of opportunity out there, and I want to discuss markets, and I want to talk about different ways executing that you could go ahead and make sure that you are able to do exactly that. And this is impressive. This is not our ideal settings. This is our stock settings on CTM 2.0 and across different altcoins. What are we looking at over here? This is Waves. Let's keep going over here to Solana is a big one. A lot of people very, very interested in Solana. A lot of people have been buying this dip on Solana, this pullback, ever since 200, right? 150, and continue loading up and continue getting crushed because obviously we're currently in a bear market. But how could you view Solana and be able to make sure that you're staying on the right side? Something as easy as CTM 2.0. People lost so much money on Luna. That's the thing, and fortunes could have been made on the upside and on the downside, but that can't happen if you don't have a plan. You can't just you're not going to get lucky. You need to have a plan, and I'm trying to demonstrate the advantage of executing as we do. Jamie, the great team. Who do you mean by that? Jamie, who do you mean by the great team? I think we have the best team that CTM has ever had, like by a magnitude unmeasurable for the first. And I've been saying that over the last couple of months that I am the happiest ever with CTM and what we're doing here. And this is what I've always dreamed of. This is even when I first, and I know that CTM has changed a tremendous and formed a tremendous amount of lives. There's no question that it's always provided that value, but where we're at now, this is what I always dreamed of. So why are you into alts? So this is fun today, Jamie. I don't know why that you don't watch CTM. I can't imagine a better resource in your life when it comes to the markets than what we do here each and every day. But you're so far removed that I'm not understanding about that. Like, for example, yesterday we talked about Alan P, right, Jamie? And how Alan P was like, look, and you can watch yesterday's video, Jamie, right? And Alan P was one of the administrators, one of the greatest, parts of Team CTM. And that will help you, Jamie. But it seems to me that, Jamie, you're so far out of it. I don't know what happened to you. Where did you go wrong? Jamie, you're asking a lot of questions, but I need to ask you, where did you go wrong that you got so far removed for what was happening here? I'm so sorry about that. But you're here now, Jamie. But you're here now, and that's amazing. And I hope that because I'm looking at you, brother, and I'm like, wow, he needs help. You need a lot of help. You're like, to ask a question of why am I looking into alts? That's concerning, because I've always looked at alts from the very beginning of CTM and everything, the way that I looked at the markets. I actually remember it was in January when I did a session and I was like to CTM, look, right now, because of what's going on in the markets, not a time to dollar cost average into Bitcoin, start building reserves, and we should look at alts and shorting alts. And I remember there was this offshoot of CTM 2.0. Yeah, and very, very terrible stuff. And CTT. And I'm reading in the Discord this terrible stuff, and these people like making fun of me for talking about the fact in January that now CTM should work towards being able to hedge themselves by shorting alts. And like, because of that, I like, man, could you imagine like what other people's judgments do to you? And the people judging you are really, but nevertheless, it has an effect on you and it changes you. And that's okay. You have to be able to thrive with whatever circumstance you're in. But it's a process of learning to adapt, learning to recalibrate, and then learning to move on. And that happens all the time in real time. And one of those things was, who cares what those people think? They're who care? They're nothing. They're not going to amount to anything, and whatever. So Jamie, I hope you get on the right side. And I'm sorry that you're so far removed from the right side, but you're here now. But like, Jamie, you could go into the Discord and you could go back and you could invest your time over the next 3 weeks, and you could watch as many live streams as possible. That would probably be the best thing that you could do. The second best thing you could do is that you hear now and continue watching and going forward. But Jamie, man, you could see the time that I'm spending with you. Obviously, I care, but there's something that needs to be corrected, and that has to come from you and yourself. You have to actually put down the social media, and you have to think about what you're doing and why and how you're going to get there. I hope that you are able to get laser focused on the most important trade that matters, and that's what we do here with CTM. No, I like, you have my love too. That's why I'm spending so much time and trying to best shepherd you to where you need to be. What we're doing here is nothing less than extraordinary. And this tweet over here, it didn't get any interaction. It got 33 likes and 6 comments. And this is what every single person out there is searching for. And when I say every single person, I'm talking about all of FinTwit. All of FinTwit, because no one has the capacity to. My goal has always been to be the best of the best. I hope it's CTM Hive Mind that gets me and us there. There's no question about that, and I mean that. When I talk about people that have for me in the legends, when I talk about Bill Miller, or I talk about Paul Tudor Jones and Stanley Druckenmiller, like I didn't spend my early career reading about books or anything like that. I mean, I say that, I guess, kind of lightly. I guess what I mean to say is what I spent my time on was reading books like The Market Wizards and The New Market Wizards, where they're interviewing the most successful traders and you're learning about the characteristics that make them up. You learn about, from afar, all the different strategies and system. And the thing that they all have in common is that they all blew up until they realized the most important thing is risk and money management. Risk on, risk theory. Let me pull up the chart first before I go even further. So when I saw the theory here is, by the way, and just Craig, let me just briefly share it, is that when the yuan starts correcting, when the yuan starts devaluing, that's when risk has a problem. You could see down over here in the S&P 500 during this period in 2015 when the yuan devalued, risk made lower lows and was very volatile. Now, risk did end up higher from when the yuan started devaluing from when it ended. But when it ended and started appreciating, that's when markets actually thrived. And that happened again over here during this correction in late 2000 or mid 2018. And you could see the duration of the yuan correcting, risk was volatile, even making lower lows. And when it ended, risk was higher than it started. Now, I bought this up because the first day that the yuan started correcting, and it was because of zero hedge. And prior to the yuan correcting, they were talking about the massive devaluation that the yen was going, that the yen was going under, and that because of the Japanese yen being devalued, the Chinese most likely were going to need to devalue the yuan to stay competitive. You are seeing that taking place since. And since that started or is happening, we could see that risk is volatile and under pressure. Now, I assume whenever this finishes, that risk will be higher. That's my assumption. That's the theory behind this. And I also am watching any type of counter trend rallies. And we saw the other day this massive counter trend rally, and Bitcoin on both of these, on this one and on this one, really pumped. But then that deviated for the first time. And I know we're watching day to day now. It's not like you're zoomed out and you're watching something from afar. But on the day to day, we saw the yuan still was appreciating and Bitcoin still trading off sideways a little bit. We'll keep watch of it. Anyway, I'll keep watch of it. Not only the Market Wizards and reminisce of a stock operator within the last 6 weeks, I've listened to it again. It is absolutely timeless, and those three books have had the greatest influence over my formation as a trader. One of the other things is Larry Williams. I don't know if you know who Larry Williams is. His daughter is Michelle Williams. She was in a TV drama called Dawson's Creek. And Michelle Williams, she holds one of the highest returns for the World Championship of Trading in the futures markets. And she has a 1,001% return. And it's at the top. I don't know if it's the top 3, whatever it might be. And her father holds the record. And he did in 1 year 16,000% return. For a long time, I wanted to try, it was my goal to try to compete with that, to beat that. And I remember 1 year getting up like somewhere around $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000. This was during 2013. This was during the devaluation of the yen. And it was a very easy trade, and say easy, quote unquote. I wish, by the way, at that time that those profits I made off of that I had just simply bought Bitcoin. But at that point, I was not following Bitcoin or understood Bitcoin or anything like that. That was 2013. Today's session for me is a lot of fun.